A recent report of Gomez Pinilla on brain foods clearly demonstrated that curcumin is responsible for a mediation of cognitive decay in mouse model and in a mouse model of Dendritic disease. Of course, this study is on the mouse as well as this study of my co-workers Giovanni Scapagnini that clearly demonstrated that curcumin activates defensive gene. Which defensive gene? In neurons in astrocyte in brain of the rats of mouse. Is responsible for an increased expression in astrocyte in neurons of hemosigenasis 1. Hemosigenasis 1 is involved in antioxidative defense. So they hypothesized that the effect of curcumin depends on at least in part, on the hyperexpression of this enzyme involved in antioxidative defense. However, as pointed out in this report, at this time there is no data showing that any nutraceutical may influence aging and lifespan, and a complete randomized clinical trials in humans are needed to confirm the potential use of curcumin in the prevention of inflammatory disease like Alzheimer's disease. So, concerning anti-inflammatory drugs, we revised in this review already discussed, and in that one we have revised the only literature concerning the use of anti-inflammatory drugs. And again, we found a lot of contrasting results. In particular, last year was published the results of the trial ADAPT that clearly demonstrated that use of naproxen or celecoxib did not improve cognitive function. But this trial concerned only 2,000 patients. And some months after, it was published to this study on neurology that on 50,000 cases and 200,000 controls that clearly demonstrated that the use of anti-inflammatory drugs, in particular ibuprofen, is responsible for is able to prevent Alzheimer's disease, especially when the drug is used at least for 5 years. You can see there is a decrease of incidence of 25%. So this data is particularly important in our opinion. Okay, these are the external collaborator. These are my collaborator. Someone on holiday, someone is drinking, only one is working. Is Sonia Vasto, who tomorrow will speak about longevity by analyzing our data, our chemical data on centenary offspring, because my lab is actively involved both in unsuccessful and successful aging, in Alzheimer's disease and in longevity. And then we are organizing the 70th European Congress of Biogerontology next year in Palermo. So, see you in Palermo next year. Thanks for it.
Thank you. I enjoyed your talk. I found it fascinating that genetic variation, polymorphisms, and genes involved in inflammation, immunity would be associated. What is the heritability of Alzheimer's disease?
What is?
The heritability of Alzheimer's. Yeah.
Of course, we are discussing only sporadic Alzheimer's disease, but it's known in literature that if you have both parents affected by Alzheimer's disease, in old age, of course, because we discuss sporadic Alzheimer's disease, there is an increase in the probability to become affected by Alzheimer's disease. There is a percentage of eligibility is different, of course, of familial Alzheimer's disease, but it does exist, and is mostly linked to APOE4, of course.
Hi.
What happened?
I appreciated your talk as well. I was curious if you have any. Curious if you studied the difference in inflammation among normal patients with different ApoE genotypes.
Sorry.
In other words, the ApoE2 or the ApoE4, do you have any notice?
In my study, what about ApoE4 in genetics? In the genetic data I presented, what about the relevance of ApoE4? Is it your question?
I was just curious if you compared in normal patients or younger patients that haven't expressed Alzheimer's disease, if you saw a difference in inflammation.
In familial Alzheimer's disease, ApoE4 is responsible for a worst course of the disease, but it don't depend on ApoE4 in the younger patients, because it is depend on presenidine, nicastrin, APP, and so on. But in the family, when in the same family there are several patients affected by familial Alzheimer's disease, people carrying ApoE4 the course of the disease is worse and is more heavy.
Thank you.
In the polymorphism you have found, which kind of mutation you have found in relation with Alzheimer's disease? They are no sense, missense, silent?
In the cytokine, concerning toll-like receptor 4, there is the peptide. There is a mutation that determines a substitution with an amino acid different, and so on. Concerning the cytokine genes, all are in the non-coding region. They are the promoter region, mostly in the promoter region, so they are responsible for a different production of cytokine. And the same in cyclooxygenases and lipoxygenases. Only in toll-like receptor 4, the substitution concern an amino acid. In the other condition, it concern the promoter region, so a different production of the molecule.
Could you make a comment on the tremendous variation of the epidemiology of Alzheimer's disease, especially one group, the Japanese at the island of Okinawa, with one of the lowest rates of dementia in the world? And also, could you make a comment on one study which was published in the British Medical Journal it was a veteran administration study on the epidemiology of Alzheimer's disease in a group of patients taking cholesterol-lowering drugs, i.e. statins?
Sorry, we discussed only as a risk factor cholesterol in the slide, but our study does not concern, until now, at least, cholesterol.